Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Create with Chris. I am Chris Haughey, and today I'm going to do a new project. It's a new series I just started, and it is the Haunted Halloween Trilogy Street Signs, I guess would be a good title for this series. With me today is Lindsay, and she is going to be answering all the questions. Be sure to say hi to Lindsay. Let us know where you're I don't say calling from, where you're
joining us
from. Thank you, Lindsay. If you've not joined us before, welcome. And if you have, thank you for coming back. Be sure to let us know where you're at. And if you have any questions or comments, let us know. Lindsay's really, really good at answering questions. So if she can't find the answer out, we'll be sure to find out for you. Appreciate your comments as well. So everybody asks me, where do you get all your ideas? Well, the idea for this one was really simple. Last year I did a series of street signs for Christmas, and if you've not seen those are really fun. They did really well, and everybody seemed to enjoy them. And this is a series of free e-patterns as well. So that's kind of a little gift from us to you. And Lindsay did some signs up, stencils up, and she said, "Hey, Chris, remember last year you did the Christmas signs? Wouldn't it be fun to do Halloween signs?" So she handed me 3 different Halloween signs. So that's where the idea came from. Today I'm going to do Creepy Court. This is super fun. And the series of 3 is just a really nice trilogy. And I thought you could even hang them like in a row. Instead of just doing one, you could do all 3. There's a lot of, you put little decorative hangers on them. There's a lot of different things that you can do with them. If Jen was here, she'd say, "Oh, they would look great on a wreath," right, Lindsay?
Yeah.
So it's just a super fun project. And this project in particular is really easy. It's a low stress project, and probably because it's Halloween, that takes a lot of stress off of being perfect. But the more loose and the more movement it has, it actually ends up looking better. So if you're looking for, I call them my little painting vacations, where you can just sit down and paint something fun, not have to stress about it, these projects are super great to do. And they're simple enough if you have grandkids, nieces, nephews, younger kids that just want to do a fun project. This is pretty much fail-proof. So, let the kids create too. It's just, painting is such a great world to live in, and we like to share it as much as we can, right? Okay, anything going on, Lindsay?
Well, do you want to tell them about the little promotion we've got going
on? Right now everything seems to be a little bit tight. People are concerned about cost. The economy is kind of crazy. So we're trying to decide what we could do to help out. So we have decided, if you want to order any of our brushes, and this is the Joe Sonia brushes and my signature brushes, all brush orders are going to ship freight free. So if you order brushes, you'll get them at no shipping cost.
It has to be brushes alone. If you put anything else in the cart, it won't ship for free. But if you just need some brushes, it's free shipping for the next 2 weeks.
It's a great way to stock up. If you have a friend that you're thinking about getting a Christmas gift for, it's a really good idea, and it's a great opportunity to get those at free freight. So take advantage of that. It's not going to last terribly long, but we thought we would offer that.
And we should say that's for the United States. So
continental United States.
International, but for the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska, you can get free shipping on brushes for the next 2 weeks.
Next 2 weeks. So mark that down. Take a look. We have awesome brushes. We have the best brushes. And I'm not just saying that because they're mine, but they are really good brushes. They've been bestseller and people rave about them. So if you wanted to give them a try, now's a really good time. You get a great price on the brushes. In addition, you'll get free freight.
Yeah, Roxanne, unfortunately not international, just because the post office to Canada, the rates are just phenomenal, and we just can't offer it. But it is just for domestic. Sorry.
That's kind of out of our control, unfortunately. Wish we could help out with that. So for all of you that are holding your breath for this next hurricane coming through, wishing you the best, safe. Hopefully this thing will fizzle out and it'll be just a puff of wind. So our hearts are with you and those in the flooded areas. We were down visiting my sister-in-law. She lives in Black Mountain, and fortunately she lives up on the mountain. She didn't have any damage to her house. She has a home in Florida, so she was able to sneak out of Black Mountain and arrive home just before the threat of the hurricanes coming in. So she said, out of the fire into the frying pan. So we're prayers to all of you that are in those areas, because I know that it's truly a tragic situation. So we definitely need a little painting vacation to kind of, what do they call that, where you just, Calgon, take me away.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying. I was answering the question.
Okay. Are we ready to get started?
If you are.
Okay. Let's turn the cameras around.
There we go.
All right. This is Creepy Court. Should I show them the other two?
Yeah, you can show the other two.
Okay. So this is Creepy Court. Next week, I'm going to be doing a pre-recorded video, but this is for the Witch's Way. And I got crazy and called it Broom Dust and Creepy Bats.
It's got 3 different names, people. So
Okay, so you know how spell check is. I put Creepy Bats, but I think on the video it says Cheeky Bats. So, that's kind of cute too.
Yeah.
So we'll go with that. And then the third one is Haunted Highway. So aren't these cute? And I'm telling you, it takes from start to finish. If you pop out the drying time, you could really crank these out, because we're using stencils. That's always such a bonus. You really get the perfect letters. But look at these letters. They're not perfect. They're kind of gothic and a little bit distressed, which takes a lot of pressure off of being perfect. So we'll just take perfect out of our vocabulary for this.
Escapism was the word you were looking.
Escapism.
Yeah, that's what Roxanne said.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am starting with our street sign. This is just a perfect size for the stencil. This is the stencil. This one is a little different than our street signs last year. The border's in a different place. I can use this border, Lindsay. I just had a thought. Okay. Random thought. I wanted to create a background that was kind of mystical and magical. This is a background that I use a lot, and it's not just for this project. And you can see I've used it in the other two. So it's the same technique, but look at that. It just kind of glows, and the colors really resonate and become they have a lot of movement in it. It's just a great way to do a background. And probably to do this type of background, you will have probably about the same time vested into it as if you were doing a solid background. Now on this one, I went ahead and base coated a baby duck. I want this to really glow. And because oranges and even greens and purples, if you put them on solid and heavy, you don't get that glow. So I'm starting out with a base coat of baby duck. And I don't know if you can see, it's not solid. I just kind of slapped it on. It's okay. This is a project where everything's okay. Going to start with Warm Sunset and just build up the hues of color. Just get a little bit on my palette. Let me move this over. I have all this space and I'm kind of, okay. So I have my 3/4 inch awesome angle or oval wash. I'm really loading the paint into the bristles well. It's damp. It's not drippy wet, but I have a lot of moisture. And we're going to go fast because it doesn't matter. So keep that in mind. It doesn't matter. You don't want to be sloppy, but you can go fast because everything we do is layers, and it will all work. Trust me. So I'm just going to slap on the flat of my brush. I'm going to grab just a little more water, and you can see how fast I'm scooting around. little bit more here. Kind of staying out of that middle area. Just want to cover that up. I'm doing a paper towel over here. I'm just going to wipe it on paper towel, get rid of some extra moisture. And I'm going to slip up that center, which is going to make it a little bit lighter. Because I don't have the bulk of the paint. It's all pretty much on the outside edge. That's done. So that's it. Don't stress about it. Slap that paint on there, a little heavier on the outside. No, it's not smooth and even, but you do notice it's not super spotty either. I'm going to give it a quick dry. If you've not used the Heat It tool, the best drying tool out there, and it's fairly quiet. And my hands are always cold, so it's kind of nice to get a little shot of heat on my hands. It does get super hot, so I keep it moving. And I usually keep my hands close by. If it's too hot for your hands, it'll be too hot for the paint. And this is really, I have a fair amount of moisture, so it's taking a little bit to get this dry. Probably the biggest part of creating this project is spending a little bit of time on the background, but it is so worth it, and I think it's such a beautiful background. Just going to take a little bit more of that warm sunset, just going to repeat that. And what this is doing is just going to, I don't want to say smooth out or even up that background. Still using that loose, picked up a little bit of water, but look, now it's looking nice and blended, and that's what you want. You just want, it's not solid, it's not even, but it's, you don't have those choppy strokes. Looks pretty smooth. Now, you have a certain amount of time that you can work with this before it starts to dry, and then you can't move the paint any longer. If you are in an area that is very dry, you may want to use one of my favorite tools is the Distress Mister sprayer. That's this little mister bottle, and it's different than the 99-cent mister bottles that you get at the dollar store or Walmart, because the spray comes out as a super fine mist as opposed to a heavy layer of paint, of water. Very controllable. It's just a super light mist. It just goes, I always say a sprayer bottle goes psh, and the mister bottle goes whoosh. So it's just a light mist of color, of water. Okay, I'm going to bump down to red spice. It's just a deeper color, and I'm just going to repeat that same process, and you can see that it's starting to darken down that outer edge a bit. Always start at the ends and the outer edges and then kind of work toward the center. Don't ever end your stroke with a hard line. Like right here, I'm going to go into it real quick and just move it around. And then I just reloaded my brush with a bit of water just to kind of blend that together. And remember, we got all kinds of things going on here. You just want to kind of smooth it out and get that dark to light in there. And I'm using the back of my brush, not the chisel edge. So I've got a pretty good angle on my brush to let that paint blend in. I've not used as much paint. I don't blend it completely toward the middle because I want that to be lighter. So I'm focusing the bulk of the paint on the outer edges just to make that a little bit darker. And normally I don't use this many colors, but with oranges, they're a little more translucent than some of the other colors. So I'm going to add one more float on here. Well, another float. Going to go with a 3/4 inch angle. And this is Heritage Brick. And you can see on my palette, no you can't, you can see the colors get darker with each shade. Load my brush up pretty good with moisture. And I'm really loading my brush. I want enough paint on that brush to last a while. I don't want to have to reload and reload and reload. It's a big brush. It can do a lot of work before it has to be reloaded. So let the brush do its job. And I'm just going in, a little bit of something there. Just going in to strengthen those outer floats. Again, this is not a fussy float. I'm just kind of tapping and pulling, adding the bulk of that color on the outer edge, just letting that brush kind of float that color around. Got a lot of paint. I can move it for a long time before it starts to set up. And you can see how far I can go with a brush load. And I'm just going to blend that in right there. But look at that center area now. It's really glowing. I'm not bringing that darker color up to the middle, still keeping that much lighter in the center area. If you have a line where your paint stops and it's not blending smoothly, just kind of go back a step or two and maybe add another layer, slip slap of the warm sunset to kind of even it out a little bit more, and then build those colors back up. It's not smooth and even, but isn't that beautiful? Love the way that looks. Now, one way to make the center appear much brighter is to add darkness. So I'm going in with Black Plum, and this is where it really starts to become very rich and really almost a jewel tone. I'm going to bump down to my 1/2 inch angle because I don't want that much darkness toward the center. So I'm loading my 1/2 inch angle up. Can you see how much moisture I have in my brush? It's really not drippy, but I'm going to be able to move that paint around quite a bit. And I'm doing the same thing. I work quickly. When I start out, I don't have a heavy start. I have a fine start. And when I stop to reload, I kind of feather it down. So you don't have, you know how you get that harsh stop and start line? And I'm just kind of scooting and pulling because my brush, and I almost have kind of a curve when I float. My brush is blending it out very nicely because I have enough moisture in it that I can walk that paint around. If your paint is heavy and you're not able to move it quickly, you probably don't have enough moisture in your brush. Now I do want these corners a little bit darker, so I'm going to really, can you see how that changes that whole appearance? But I'm really going to deepen those corners. Almost creates a natural frame for this design. And see, it's kind of dark and heavy. I just get water in my brush, pull that paint over, boom, boom, boom. If areas that need, I can work with it until it starts to tack up. Is that not beautiful? And how long did that take, Lindsay?
So I would say about 15 minutes, maybe.
No longer than a solid base coat, but look how much that glows, how beautiful it is, how that color builds up. So think about this next time you're doing any kind of project where you want to add a little more wow factor to the background, and sometimes just beefing up the background or ramping up the volume of the background will change the whole dynamic of the project and really make it glow. So this is pretty dry, and I want to put my stencil on here now. And because I'm putting my little spider on there, I want to have room for him to sit over here on the corner without running into the letters. So I'm kind of scooching it over just a little bit to the left to make room for that little guy to hang on the outside. I want to even it up, and I found out the width of the stencil is almost the same size as the actual plaque. I'm going to get a little bit of painter's tape, and I'm going to anchor it down. Oops, so it doesn't move like that. Don't try to hold the stencil while you stencil, because 9 times out of 10 it'll shift and then you have an issue with trying to figure out how to clean it up. I am going to just put these letters or the stencil on with lamp black using my Spectacular stencil brush. Just going to get a little bit of paint and I'm going to grab a paper towel, because most of the problems with stenciling is having the paint run under the stencil. So I'm just going to load my brush and wipe the tips over a paper towel, and that's going to remove the excess paint. So when I stencil, I'm not going to have that run under and I'll get clean, crisp edges. However, the benefit of doing a Halloween creepy court stencil is if the lettering becomes a little bit distressed with the stencil, you can incorporate it into the personality of the design. And now that I'm comfortable with how much paint is on my stencil brush, I'm just giving it a very light swirl. Sometimes there is an issue with paint running under the stencil and creating uneven edges when the brush is forced, like you're pounding too heavy or you're pushing too hard and you need to reload. You're trying to get more mileage out of that paint load of a brush load of paint. And I'm just being careful. Because this is lamp black, I did paint it up last night just to see how it was going to turn out. And with lamp black, it's so solid and opaque. I found out with this one, I did not need 2 coats. And I have this little open space I just got paint in. So I'm going to take my painter's pal and cover that up so I don't get any more paint. I try to be careful, but you know, I think I just got paint on the background. Of course I did right there. Not a problem. I'm just going to, while it's still wet, I can just wipe that off. And probably my spider leg would cover it up, but that's okay. I think before
you're going to splatter too. So.
I am going to splatter, and I should have done that before, but that's okay. I will splatter now. Last night I've splattered after I painted the letters, so it worked out okay. I'm going to use the splatter brush. This is my very favorite splatter brush, and I have to stand up to do that because it needs to be pointing down. Just thinning my paint out a little bit, loading just the tips. I'm holding it like a shotgun, and I'm aiming it where I want it to fire, and I can just lightly splatter some paint on there. And because I have really good control over where it's going to go.
See, now you can't even tell that you went over the stencil because you splattered. So.
Yeah. And if you're really not happy with your background, sometimes adding the splattering kind of helps diffuse any areas that might be an issue. But this is, sometimes you add splattering for stars and sometimes for texture. I think this just kind of adds to the creepiness of the court. Okay, that looks pretty good. Put a little more down there. And I'm going to give this a quick dry because I wanted to put a little bit of white in there too. Now, if your splatters become too heavy and you think they're kind of overpowering, again, grab your mister and just lightly mist it. It's going to cause those splatters to softly diffuse and they bleed out. I don't know if you can see on here. Can you see that spot right there? It was too heavy and I just hit it with my mister and it kind of diffused out, and I thought I kind of like the way that looked. So if you let things happen, sometimes you have those happy results that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. That one's still wet. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of white. And because I don't want it to be like looking like sparkling stars in the background, I'm going to thin it down a little bit more than normal. It would have been nice to do that first so I didn't have to get the black out of my splatter brush, but that's okay. I'm thinning it down and, actually having a little bit of that residue of black is just making it a little more gray, which is probably fine. Just want a hint of design. This is not sparkle. This is not stars. I just want to put that on there. Just helps to brighten the background up just a little bit. And try not so much to get it on the letters. What's nice with this brush, splatter brush, I can really control where I want those splatters to go. And I'm only about a couple inches off the background. So that looks kind of nice. We'll just let that be and give that a quick. And if I see any like over here, I'll just take my paper towel and wipe any excess off of the letters. Not a big deal. And if they're on there, that's okay too. This is a no worry, no frill project. That looks pretty good. Actually, I'm going to let that dry and work on the spider a little bit. We're almost finished. After we get the spider done, we can really move on. When I was working on this, I tried to keep my palette limited. I think it makes it visually come together a lot easier when you don't have a bazillion colors on a simple project like this. So since this is monochromatic, I decided to stay in that same family. And on the spider, just going to use a little bit of warm sunset because I debated about this. I tried a couple colors and I just like the way the warm sunset landed over that black. So I am loading the toe of my 1/2 inch awesome angle. And the reason it is so awesome is because you have extended length. That's going to give you a longer, smoother stroke. So I'm just going to go along the bottom and up the right side of the spider and just give that hint of color. And I'm going to run a little bit, and because this is a bigger brush and because I don't want to mess with another brush, just kind of tilting my brush at my angle at an angle, and I'm kind of pulling it along the bottom edge of those legs. Just add a little bit of color on there. So I'm not using it flat, I'm just kind of tipping it, maybe more so on the toe, just to give a little bit of color in there. Kind of helps divide that body up a little. You got a little bit too much here. I can just take black and touch it up. And that's kind of cool, isn't it? I'm going to go in with my Epic script liner, shorter than a script, a little bit longer than a liner. And I'm just going to add some stripes on those spider legs. And I'm just using the rotation of my hand. And this little spider.
You have paint on your finger.
This one?
Oh, it's something's going on the spider. It's white.
Oh, yes, I do. Okay. All righty. We have a little. I think I drug my hand through the paint. That's okay, because I'm going to put some white highlights on there, so that'll work out okay. And there, I covered it right up, Lindsay. You can't even see. Now you're making me nervous about what else is on my hand.
I think you got it off the table. There's a lot of splatters on the table.
Yeah. Who knows? We all drag our hand through the paint one time or another.
Some of us more than others.
Oh, man. You know, one time I painted a little ghost, and when I got finished, I looked at his face, and there was a smear of paint on his face. It was an orange spot, and I was getting ready to wipe it off, and it was a perfect little heart. It was the cutest little thing. So I thought, you know what? I really like the way that looked. So I left it on there and added it to the design. And I got so many compliments on that little heart. I thought, well, that was my little happy accident. Okay, we got little lines on the legs. Now I just need to go in and put a little highlight on this spider. Sticking with the colors on my palette, I'm picking up just a little bit of Snow White, thinning it down because I don't want a real strong highlight. And I'm just going to sweep that around. And I have enough moisture on my brush, I can move that around as much as I want. Hopefully my legs are dry. I'm doing the same thing, just going to put a little bit of highlight on the top of the legs. No fuss painting, just a little bit of highlights on there makes such a big difference. And this is a Halloween spider, so you know, the creepier he is, the better he's going to look. Just going to add a little bit of highlight on these legs.
I hope I never see this spider in real life.
Yeah, he's cute. I could put a smile on him, but make sure you have enough moisture on your brush that that little liner is going to paint for a long time. And you don't have to reload. I thought that just made his little feet kind of stand out, having that little bit of highlight on there. You know what I didn't grab is my painter's palette, but I think there's one over here.
There's about a zillion over there.
If you're not familiar with the painter's palette, oh my gosh, these are the best little tools. This is a Bubble Buddy, but it's such a great way to create perfect circles. And we have 11, 12,
11,
almost 12. We're
Almost
working on
12,
our 12th one. Now I want my eyes in the middle, and sometimes I'm not real sure where I want to put them, so I just take my chalk pencil and I want an eye there and an eye there. I know where my eyes are going to be now. Maybe I want them a little bit higher, I think. I'm going to move them up just a touch. Okay, that's better. It just gives me the parameters where I want to put it. And see, I can center this painter's palette right over that little dot. Just a great way to easily add those eyes in there. And I'm going to use Snow White. Just pop them in there. Being a little careful because I have a heavier load of paint on my brush, and I want it to be nice and crisp around the edges, but I don't want to have to do 2 coats. So I'm going to do 1 coat, and I'm just going to be real careful and very lightly start in the middle, kind of tap toward the outer edges. And I can see how that paint's going on. I just want a nice, even coat. Okay. And I always wipe my painter's palette off after I finish, because when I go to lay it down, being translucent, you can position it and you know if it's even or not. And if it's covered with paint, sometimes the edges aren't as clean and crisp as they should be. You can create a lot of personalities with the eyebrows, but he's going to be just a little bit not happy. Maybe he's a little bit creepy.
Well, he is, because he lives on Creepy Court.
Right. I'm going to move that over just a little bit. he was a little bit lopsided on his smile. I have a real hard time with circles and straight lines. So that's why I came out with the painter's tools, because I need help on that. I want fangs, but I want them to go straight down. So I'm just doing a straight line, and then I'm going to create a V on each side. That way I know his little fangs are going to be perfect. Okay, this is probably the fussiest painting on the whole project, huh? And I went a little bit past the line, so I'm just going to go in and grab a little bit of that black. Just straighten that up. Get rid of that other line. Okay. He needs we need to add a little bit of color in his eyes. He's nice and dry. A little bit. I'm picking up just a teeny touch of lamp black. Just going to swoop it up here on this top left. I don't want his eyes like super white and buggy. And dry that up just a teeny bit. I really should bump down to a smaller brush, but this is no fuss painting, and I don't want a bunch of brushes to have to clean when I'm finished. This is my go-to brush. Warm sunset on those eyes. One thing nice about my stencil brushes, I can just clean them with water and go to the next color, and I don't have to wait for them to dry. Now I want his pupil to be a pretty good size. So I'm just going to put, and see, I can see exactly placement on this. This is the same brush I used to do the lettering. I've not cleaned it out yet. Add that in there. I'm going to make sure I clean that because I want to be able to see through it for placement. Get that right there. Oh, this is so funny. And just because it's my last eye doesn't mean I'm not going to take a minute to clean that. Make your life easier. Just put a little highlight down here. And I grab a stylus, little dip dot right there, and one right there. And that's it. He looks pretty cute. Super easy. Okay, let's go back to, I should have done this when I did the letters. I like on some projects to make the letters look hand painted. So some of these letters I'm just going to, where they have a bridge in them to make them not fall apart on the stencil, I'm just going to go back in. I'm using my number 2 radical round just to fill in those bridges. And now it looks like it's hand painted. I have some white on there. I'm going to just touch that up. See how easy it is to fix up any places you're thinking, no, I shouldn't have done that. Alrighty, so now we need to get this border on here. And last year, I'm going to show this, Lindsay. Last year we did the street signs, and they came with a border that was just perfect for this. So this is what I use to add the border on mine. You can use painter's tape. You can use, I was thinking this would work. I could just use this border on here to put it around and create that outside border. Let's try that. I think this would be perfect. I'm just going to do that over here. These stencil brushes are super soft, so not only are they really good for stenciling, but I can almost use them like a paintbrush. In fact, I've used them to base coat, like the big spider, I base coated it with this stencil brush. Oh, look at that, perfect. So this will work really well for that. Except I went uphill, Lindsay. You didn't tell me it was uneven.
Jesse, you didn't ask.
I didn't ask. Okay. So we'll just show you how to fix that. Like I said,
I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell either. I told you I have a real hard time with straight lines. It's horrible.
I think what's throwing me off is the paint on the board. The paint on the wood in the background is throwing me off the street. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stick this on there. I'm trying to kind of crank through this really fast. So
if you're just joining us, Chris is working on the first of her Halloween street sign designs. All of the e-patterns for these are free in our free e-pattern section. And there is also a bundle for the surfaces, the surface pieces, which would be the street sign plaque and the spider that comes with this one.
Okay. We're going to kind of wing this here.
Lisa says, don't feel bad. She never gets anything straight.
You know, it's a real challenge, and I have astigmatism, so they keep telling me they're correcting it with little things they put in your lenses, but you know,
My husband's the same way. He can't do anything straight. He has astigmatism, so.
Oh, John will say, okay, stand back there and let me know if it's straight, and I'm going, really?
Yeah.
I can tell after it's on that it's not straight, but up until that point, it's like a kind of a challenge. This is why I love using I call them my painter helper tools, the painter's pals, anything that's going to help you get a straight line. I always use a T-square, anything that will make my life easier so that I can end up with a project that's going to look really good and not come out looking like, what did I do? So, all right, so this is a little bit off up here, but I'm just going to take my little brush. So I'm going to go with this one. And I can make that work. See, and that's going to work. So don't stress.
It's a Halloween sign. Halloween stuff's supposed to be spooky and gothic and not perfect.
We call this rustic.
Yeah.
Because I want this to be the same. Let's go up to here. Maybe right there. On both sides. Just going to put my little pretend line here and then just connect them. It will work. It will be fine, Chris. Just fine. All righty. And I'll just put that in there. Sometimes it doesn't pay to rush. And see, if you didn't know, you'd never know, right? I'm just going to connect that right there. And there was a place over here where I had a little bit of a bridge. And then I can just bring this over.
So you never know.
No, never would know.
No one knows any better.
Yeah.
And they're not going to tell.
No. This is creepy quartz, so there's a lot can happen. So when I was doing this, I thought I would be really smart and I would use that white Uniball pen to add the spider webs, but it was too intense, too white, too strong, which is one of the benefits and the perks of the white Uniball pen. It's just absolutely makes a really strong really nice line. So I thought, gosh, it'll be perfect, but it was just a little bit too strong. So I tell you, Lindsay, I stuck my finger in the black paint and she's laughing at me. Okay. And we'll just put some spider-webs on here. And I'm just going to move that out of the way. I kind of just freehand these. And they always have a scoop in them. Are they even? No, and you can do some straight lines. Anything on a spider web will work.
You know, it would be cool if you did. Do you remember Charlotte's Web?
Yes.
She would write messages in there.
Oh,
Like if you
yeah.
wrote boo.
That would be cute. Okay, guys, do that and then send
That's your challenge.
Send us a picture because that would be adorable. And on these other ones I did the lighter border, but on this one I tried to do a lighter border with the orange and it just blended into the background too much. So I went ahead and did the black and I didn't have to worry about highlighting it. If your brush is loaded correctly, you should be able to put a lot of little lines in there before you have to reload. And that's not from me, that's from Priscilla. She taught me. I had a booth beside her one time and she taught me so much, just eavesdropping on her, talking to other painters. And we had such a fun time. That woman is a wealth of information. Okay, my brush was not loaded correctly, so I really had to pull those lines in. There we go. That's the way it should be. And it's so easy to line those in. And one thing about the white Uniball pen, it works really well, but also it will dissolve with moisture. So if I went back and added shading, it would have disappeared. So the perks, the good things and the bad things about the Uniball. And let's add some up here. And you can't do legs, you can't do spider webs wrong. Try not to get them too even. I think they look better if they're a little bit more uneven, like the spiders had a bad day. Okay, so we've got some of the spider webs in there. This is our Halloween helper, and I used the little ghost for the background ghost on this one. I used the little bats for the background on this one. This is such a fun stencil, and they're just perfect size for all those little background embellishments. And I've got a piece of paper towel on there.
Each of the painter's pals is roughly the size of an index card, so that puts it into perspective how big this is. So you can just slip all 11 of them in your painter's toolkit and
keep them handy. So I just kind of tuck these little spiders here and there. Get a little more paint on my brush. There we go. Again, I just have a very light tap. I don't want to push this too hard. These spiders have little tiny legs, so I don't want to have them be in a blob. Let's put one up here. Make him kind of like he's just landed there. And adding these little critters on here really adds a lot of, and it just makes it kind of fun. I should wipe that off so I can see placement. Okay, let's put one on here. And I think I will wipe that off because I want to put this little spider right on that spider web. And if I can't see where the spider web is, chances are I'm going to have a floating spider or he's just not going to be in the right place. Put him right about there. And
Lisa said all the signs are so cute, so I think you need to do a video on each. So there will be a video for the Witch's Way, which has a different name, but it's the Witch's Way stencil. It'll come out next Tuesday. The Haunted Highway has a short video because we had some recording issues. So it's a shorter video, but it will come out within the next week or so.
okay, let's put this little guy right here. I really did have fun doing these, and if you have the mindset that it's okay to let it come out the way it comes out, there's so much fun. Don't let this be a stressful project because these are just adorable. They would be so cute to decorate with. Get some. I want that stylus, that's just the right size. I'm going to dip dot those little eyes in here. I'm just going to use Snow White and put them a little. I want his eyes bigger. There we go. How many of you have like 10 different styluses?
Lucinda said, this is the first time I see you have had so many whoopsies. Yet you showed us that by staying calm, you can fix just about anything.
That's why I like to record, because I can erase all those whoopsies.
Anything can be fixed.
Yeah, and nobody paints it perfect. And I'm trying to rush. You know how that is.
It's been a crazy day today. We've been it's been crazy. So it's
crazy. The word for I thought it was like more chaotic.
I mean, if she's calling it chaotic, I'll agree with her.
Oh my goodness. We have a lot of new projects coming up.
And they're all kind of going on at the same time.
Yeah, and we've got the Wicked Warehouse sale at the end of the month. If you've not thought about coming for that, it's going to be packed full of good sales. Linda O'Connell is coming, so Linda and I are going to be doing not only make and takes, but we're also going to be doing demos all day. And I think it's going to be a super fun week. 2 days.
2 days, yeah. October 30th and 31st, 9 to 3 each day. You do not have to register to attend. You just show up and walk in the door.
Yes. So if you can only come for an hour, although if you live far away, that's silly, but
I mean,
you're welcome to. But, plan on spending some time. But if you're pinched for time, if you want to fit it in just for a little bit, that would be great too. Just going to put a little, I thought about doing solid lines for the, what do they call the hanging spider web thing. But I decided that doing the dashes was a little more fun. Okay, there's that. And I want to brighten these letters up. And this looks nice, but I think the letters need to be a little more prominent. One way to make letters stand out a good bit more is to add dip dots. And I'm just going to start at the top and just dot, do 6. I just dot until it gets down to running out. Trying to keep my hand out of the little spider eyeballs. See how that brightens them up? If I did every single letter, I don't think it would be as eye-catching. And we'll add one kind of to the side on that one. Really brightens that up. Okay. I wanted a little bit of that corner to show so that the legs stick over, but we have just a little bit of that visible. And I need to go back and add just the pupils inside the eyes. And I think they're dry enough now that I can do that safely. Oh, look at that. That's so cute.
I think it's funny that you're calling spiders cute.
Yeah. See what I did? Darn. Okay,
okay.
I'll fix that. I can fix that.
It's okay.
I can fix that. You know what? I think I'm going to flip that upside down just because.
He's watching the other guys.
Yeah, he is. He's looking that way. This little guy. See if I can get some little teeny weeny dots in. I'm going to go do that with my brush, I think. No, I'm going to use my brush. Okay. And let's see if we can fix this little mess. No problem. There.
See, fixed.
Now, if I just keep my fingers out of everything.
And don't move the spider.
Don't move the spider. So what do you think, guys? I mean, how easy is that? You probably could go fuss with it a little bit more. But again, this is just a fun afternoon project. We crank this out in under an hour.
Yeah.
So you could do all 3 of these in an afternoon very easily. So I guess my challenge to you is if you guys paint these up, and there is a free e-pattern, right, Lindsay?
Mm-hmm.
So get your free e-pattern, paint these up. We would love to see them all finished up. So, and be sure and share them with us. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to check out my other videos. Hit the bell, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff, because that helps me out. And you don't want to miss out on any upcoming videos. So.
And if anyone writes a message in the spider web, send it to us. I would really like to see it. That's my personal challenge.
Okay, that would be so cute. Little words down there. Think of Charlotte's Web. That would be adorable. Why didn't I think of that, Lindsay?
You didn't ask me.
Okay, next week we are doing, next Tuesday will be the Witch's Way
Video.
Yeah,
it'll go live at 8 a.m. Eastern.
Okay, so you don't want to miss that out on that. And this will be just a little short.
It's just short, yes.
Yeah.
All 3 e-patterns and surface bundles are available right now at the last link I put in the chat. You can get all 3 of them.
And they're super inexpensive. So if you're looking for a fun project that just doesn't take much time and you're not going to have a lot invested in it, plus you get your patterns free. I mean, this is And there's still time to do for Halloween. And if not, there's always next year. So don't forget, we've got the brush sale going on. So any brushes you buy, brushes only, you get free freight on that.
Domestically.
And what?
Domestically.
Domestically, yes.
Yes. Sorry, Canada.
We have our weekly sale going on, which always changes every week. So there's always something. We try to have a great deal for you guys. Don't forget, tomorrow is semi-pro painting with Jen and Lindsay. Thursday is semi-pro stenciling with Jen and Lindsay. I think we're going to have to change the name here pretty soon to more than semi-pro because we can see everything's getting just a little more professional. It looks great. So anything else, Lindsay?
No.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today and painting along with me. Let me know if you have any questions. Be sure to post what you create. Love to see it. So until next time, thank you again, and we look forward to our next painting adventure together. And remember, a little bit of paint makes a big difference. Bye-bye.